Good morning, everyone. I guess last year was my first time speaking at this conference, and this time they wanted me to moderate a panel. So I guess I did okay when I came back last time to invite me back this year. So I appreciate the Hawaii Energy Conference for inviting us. A very important topic that we actually have today. And my name is Damien Kim. I'm the Business Manager, Financial Secretary of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, or IBEW for short, Local 1186. I've been a licensed electrician for the last 34 years. Today's topic of workforce development and energy resilience is the foremost on a lot of people's minds. As you've been hearing this conference today, everything is about resilience. And, this morning, I think we're going to hit some of these topics. I know the biggest one is we've been always asked, do we have enough people in the workforce to be able to do all this work in renewables? We'll find out today as we talk to the panelists. So I am very fortunate and honored to be here today to introduce the three panelists over here. I have Stephanie Gabriel, who is with the Pacific region of the U.S. Building Green Council. Leslie Wilcox, who is the president and CEO of the...
Well, I'm honored to be confused with her, but it's Wilkins.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Wilcox, Wilkins, I apologize, yes. Although I know you can speak just as well as that. But she's the president and CEO of the Maui Economic Development Board, and we have Terry Uyehara here, who is our apprenticeship coordinator for the Hawaii Electricians Training Fund. This morning, Stephanie, I just wanted to ask you in regards to your job as in the U.S. Green Building Council. First of all, welcome back to Hawaii.
Thank you.
You lived in the Hawaii Island, right? You moved to Portland, Oregon. Can you tell us about your job overseeing the Western states on what does the U.S. Green Building Council do, and how do you see it in the energy sector and the resilience that we're trying to talk about the topics today?
Sure, no problem. Thanks for moderating the panel. So my name's Stephanie Gabriel. I'm with the U.S. Green Building Council. I'm the regional director for the Pacific region. So that would be Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, and Alaska, and Guam as well. So just around what the U.S. Green Building Council does, first of all, show of hands. Who's heard of U.S. Green Building Council? Great. So who's heard of LEED? L-E-E-D? Okay, also great. So U.S. Green Building Council created the LEED rating system, which is a green building rating system. And we take a look at all the materials, all the energy, what goes into making buildings more sustainable. We have a rating system that has silver, gold, platinum level, depending on the number of points. We also do credentialing for professionals across different sectors. Let's see. The work that we do within the Pacific region is making sure that materials that are coming for the building, for the design of buildings, are coming from as local a place possible. Energy, we want to reward energy that's more sustainable. So as well as water reuse and extraction. So I think that really speaks to resilience in terms of getting things from a local place, bringing them into the building.
Nice. Thank you. Leslie?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And Damien, you're back by popular demand from being part of the team last year. So MEDB is very honored to serve as an intermediary, that bridge between industry and education to help grow the education to workforce pipeline. I think we all agree that our future, our energy future, a resilient, inclusive future, depends on how we invest in skill building for a homegrown, diverse talent pool. Our next generation of innovators and problem solvers, how we empower their voices, include them in the conversation and decision making to really have the energy future we want. And that's all about investing in the next generation. So next slide, I have some help clicking here. So we really have to start young. We really have to go keiki to careers, as we like to say. So MEDB under our STEMRICS program, thanks to many of you, the Hawaii State Energy Office competitive grant was some of our most recent modules. The Hawaiian Electric Company was an early investor in our homegrown place-based clean energy curriculum and many private sector donations. So these are some of our modules. So starting really young, you know, first and second grade, they're learning to read, so incorporating clean energy into learning how to read, the book selections, etc., helping our teachers with hands-on activities, all the way up to some pretty sophisticated science in our high school years. In fact, some of our modules are used actually in AP Chemistry, AP Physics, and IT, and help with senior capstones. So it's all about, again, you know, our young people are by far, they're absolutely our environmental stewards. They are very worried about global climate change. They're very worried about their future. So keeping them engaged in that conversation, giving them the school skills is very, very important. Next slide. So all of our curriculum is basically, it has hands-on materials. When we train teachers, we do our DOE, our public school teachers, for free. We always give them a hands-on kit ready to go because we do not want teachers spending money out of their pockets for supplies. We know that happens all too often. And we have a lending library for free. This is just an example. This is a screenshot. They just go on. They can see how many are in supply right now in our lending library for them to order so that they have one for every student in the classroom when they're actually doing the lesson planning and the modules. Next slide. This is an example. This is the most popular one, actually. It's for our energy efficiency and advanced circuits and the grid. They're actually creating a mini environment there. So very fun, very cool, very bright colors. So next slide. And then work-based learning is so critical. And this is my call to action to all of you, and also teeing up our apprenticeship program, my next speaker. So STEMWorks does, I think we are the largest paid intern provider across the state. We're on every island across the state. We're looking for more host employers. We're asking you, please open your doors. We will help you. We will help you identify a real world project. No copies, no coffee. They really have to do something important and meaningful in their 6-week summer internship. We make sure they're paid. We get the funding for that, so you don't have to worry about it. You're just the employer host. We had more than 100 applicants that we could not place this year. We were only able to place about 100 this summer, and we had an additional. So please, we're going to be contacting you. You have my colleague Katie's email below. Now, I'm sure you have all heard, because we've had them here before, and they've been on basically a public relations tour, that Economic Development Administration awarded the UH Community College System a Good Jobs Challenge grant. It is very impressive, very competitive, and they're looking at major sectors that will help advance our economy and training up our young people and giving them work-based experience. And it can be anyone in post-secondary, even some of your employees that you want to upskill a little bit, people that want to change careers are all eligible for both the training and the work-based learning. They're in healthcare, IT, creative industries, but most relevant to you, this audience, it is for the clean energy sector and for skilled trades. So please, for you to take on one of these student interns or upskilling your own employee, it is free training, and you get $2,000 just for opening up your doors and hosting one of these students in training. So please, please, please see the URL. I am actively recruiting. And finally, next slide. To help bring our young people into the energy conversation, and help some of those students that didn't get placed. We're asking you to give us a real world problem set. MEDB won an EDA grant. We got some awards for it. It's called STEM Solutions. So anyway, but it's a real world problem set. It can be in your company. It can be with an association. It can be solar, wind, biofuels, and it can even be policy. If you will please send that in to us, we're going to convene student teams. There'll be upper grades, high school, and post-secondary to actually build a real-world solution, which then we will give prizes, money prizes for that, and then we hope then that the winning companies will open up your doors the following summer for an internship placement to possibly implement their solution. And of course, they'll have a place on the 12th annual Hawaii Energy Conference stage to report out their solutions. Thank you. And the most, I think, important thing that we can do right now for the upper end of the pipeline is apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. So I think that IBEW has one of the most important apprenticeships for advancing our clean energy future. Terry?
Go ahead, Terry. Thanks, Leslie. That was a great segue into Terry to talk about the apprenticeship program. And Terry, if you could just kind of expand. You know, last year I talked very briefly about the apprenticeship program, but can you expand on one is recruitment itself, what the program is, what it's involved, and how do you go about recruiting people, and what are some of the challenges you might see?
So, yeah, and thank you, Damien, for having me this morning. Recruiting-wise, basically, we have been reaching out to the high schools. In fact, we've put in maybe even putting in some intentions to the middle school and the elementaries, just to give them an idea that there is a pathway for those that don't want to do their four-year college or decide, yeah, college is not for me. We show them that there is an alternative to making a decent living, taking care of your family, putting a roof over your head, as well as putting money in your pocket. And so that is one of our outreaches. We've worked with like Good Jobs Hawaii. We've talked with Workforce Development, American Job Center. We're open to anybody that actually would want to find out from us what we offer. And for our program is basically you need to be 18 years of age, have a high school or GED diploma, and be able to work in the United States. And from there, basically you take an aptitude test. The aptitude test would take 2 sections, roughly 3 hours. One section is math up to Algebra 1. The other section is reading comprehension. And if you pass those sections, you qualify for our interview, which we come in. You would sit on the list of eligibles, and as we need our manpower, that's how we pull our apprentices to bring into the workforce.
In the apprenticeship, Terry, sticking with that is, what challenges do you see in maintaining apprentices that do apply to the program itself?
I guess I want to say generation, but the applicants that we're getting now, I guess, is kind of clueless, I guess, of what our construction or what our trade's about. And don't realize that we're kind of finding out that they're not really career-minded as far as putting in the time, getting the education, getting the experience, and then see what's after their apprenticeship program, what they can achieve moving forward. Some of them is just, I'm going to try it, that's not for me, I'm going to leave. And then that's the hard part is we're having a hard time to retain that manpower or that workforce, as far as we want to have experienced workforce out there for our community to ensure that work stays in Hawaii, work is done by Hawaii, especially our electricians, and that's what we're trying to see. We're changing our scope as far as now maybe instead of committing them to the apprenticeship program, we'll give them a taste of pre-apprenticeship training, and then have them do a 40-hour course, go through the situation, It won't be a real job situation, but they'll be tasked to do things where they got to problem solve, work as a team, even individuals, and be able to communicate. Hopefully they can teamwork and get the project done within our period of time of training them. And also need to make sure that they know the soft skills like work ethics, come on time, be punctual, be ready to go, things like that. So that's the set we're using with the pre-apprenticeship.
Thank you. Stephanie, getting back to you on your green energy with LEED certifications, how do you see Hawaii compared to other states in getting LEED certifications and having that set of mind? Because I think I told you about 8 years ago, we went to an office renovation and LEED was kind of big at that time, right? So we said, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to get our LEED certification. But it did add about 25% more costs to going to LEED, and trying to justify that cost to ensure that down the line, we too are part of the solve on energy and saving energy. How is it today, though?
Yeah, I really appreciated that conversation. It's definitely one that comes up a lot. How do we make sure that each and every person has access to live and work and recreate in a building that's built sustainably, using local resources as much as possible? I think that at USGBC, I've only been there for about a year and a half, but they're very actively trying to make sure to address all of the different regional and localized issues, rather than just kind of coming in with a rating system. For those of you who follow LEED, you may know that every few years it does go through a refresh. And so the most recent refresh is still sort of ongoing. And what we're looking at now is really getting to the community engagement, which they talked about pretty broadly on the last panel, but making sure that we are engaging with communities, that we are rewarding organizations and companies who are locally based and who are using local labor. And also in terms of the information that's getting out, not just in the building of the building, but then after the fact, making sure that we're communicating what the special qualities of those buildings are that make them healthier spaces to live and work and recreate, and also how to maintain them. So that really gets into the workforce development piece, broadening it from not just architects, really opening it up to builders, other trades, as well as down the line, the operation and maintenance of those buildings. So it's definitely something that we're thinking about.
Okay, how many in this audience have businesses that have gotten LEED certification? Can you show your hands? Well, there's some in here. That's great. I know we just opened our new office building. And while we didn't go for the LEED certification, we built it as a LEED certification type of thing. They have the open air spaces and the windows for daylight, and so it does help, and it does reduce costs overall for our building itself. So thank you for that. Compared to other states, though, how does Hawaii rank? I mean, are we?
Yeah, actually, I had the pleasure of writing a couple of articles 2 years in a row about Hawaii being in the top 10 in terms of LEED square feet, and that's per capita. I mean, we do have a lower population here in the islands, but I think that's really important to recognize that Hawaii has a really unique spot, being the only island state in the United States. I think it's an imperative here to look for resources locally and to do things that protect the ground and the water. And I think that culturally, a lot of the things that we're trying to convince people to do on the mainland, people do naturally here, which I think is amazing and really great. I don't think that you need a certification to build, healthy buildings. I shouldn't say that. Hopefully nobody's recording. Anyways.
Taking away your job.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's really great, and it's been fantastic working with the local community of architects and builders here, because they actually bring in so much more into the thought process. And as an example for air-conditioned buildings, LEED really, it does reward organizations that have that, stronger HVAC and AC, but in Hawaii being a mild climate, we also recognize that there are a lot of more like historic building styles that take advantage of that natural airflow. And I think that part of my job as a Pacific director is to helping the folks in Washington, D.C. understand what those unique qualities are. And I appreciate when people give me feedback so I can provide it over to them as well.
Nice, thank you. Leslie, on your, with your work that you're doing, and you talked about the $2,000 funding, can you speak about how President Biden's IRA, right, Inflation Reduction Act, and other acts that how has that helped Hawaii with funding, and who's available to get that type of funding?
Absolutely. This is probably a generational opportunity to really tap into federal funding to build our infrastructure and clean energy. But as you know, federal funding just doesn't come without some hard work, some coordination, community planning, and some grant writing. And then, of course, that means compliance, federal compliance and accounting in the back end when you get the money. I'm very honored to serve on the Economic Recovery Commission for Maui. It's Damien is on it as well, several of you in the audience. It's not a small group. I think there are about 107 of us of state and county and personnel collaborating. So I think the one thing that we really have to get together, and we're going to try to do it with the ERC, we have to bring people together. One particular entity cannot pull down some of this funding. They're different. Sometimes only the state can apply. They're the only eligible applicant. Sometimes it's only the county. Their resources are really overtapped right now. And so, putting together big proposals, sometimes nonprofits or universities are eligible. So what we're trying to do is put together some funding HUIs, and I think this is starting to come out of the ERC. We put together 47 projects at last Tuesday's meeting of the group of what are the priorities, how can we look at the federal funding to match what those priorities are and work in teams with supporting the state, supporting the county, having industry at the table, having subject matter experts, and having nonprofits and grant writers, to help us really frame those proposals. And then, of course, on the back end, looking at the accounting infrastructure, making sure procurement is handled. So we welcome any of your thoughts. Industry needs to be at the table. You are the subject matter experts, so please make your voices heard. We had federal resource people at the meeting, including Assistant Secretary of Commerce Alejandro Castillo, who's the head of EDA. EDA has a lot of money, both for brick and mortar as well as programs. USDA has it, EPA, National Science Foundation, basically every federal agency that we've ever worked with has some piece of, and those are authorities that are already there. Those were adopted as we came out of COVID. So, it was a painful budget year this year. It was March 22nd before we had a federal budget. But those are authorities that are already in place. So I believe most of that funding is good through 2027. So again, please step up, come to the table. The directors of the ERC will be Luana Mahi, who is here. She is the Office of Economic Development under Mayor Bisson, as well as Jimmy Tokioka, who is the head of DBED. So they are the co-chairs of that. So please be in contact, send in your names, your ideas, and that will get back to our committee to work on those proposals.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Terry, to expand a little on your apprenticeship program, how many years, what is the starting pay, and what kind of, aside from, I guess, the regular schoolwork, but what are you teaching in regards to energy?
Okay, so if you guys know what apprenticeship program is, basically OJT, like I was saying, is earn while you learn. So our apprentices actually go out to work for a contractor. They'll start off at 35% of what journeyman wages are. Currently, our wages for a journeyman right now is 54, 55 plus benefits. So our first step apprentice coming in at 35% would be basically starting at about $19 and I would say 7 cents an hour, right? If they work average, they put in about 1,001 hours, they'll see a 5% increase, which pushes them up to 40%. So within a year, they'll see a 10% increase on their base pay. Our program, unfortunately, is 10,000 hours of OJT, and we require 800 hours of schooling. If you picked up on my math, it usually is about 2,000 hours a year, an average of 5 years. Schooling, again, is 800 hours. We put in 160 hours a year, 80 a semester. So again, it's a 5-year program. As they start off, of course, like everything else, they'll learn the basics of electricity theory, safety, how to figure out the circuiting load. As they progress through their apprenticeship program, we get into more specialized topics such as transformers, motor control, motors, energy management, light efficiency. And as they start closer to their completing their program, that's where we come in with the green energy. They learn about the PV system, photovoltaic systems. But how does it relate back to where they was coming from? Our systems, PV systems is multiple circuits, right? You have series parallel setup. You have a DC AC circuiting. So the basics for our apprentice to go through these to learn that and then be comfortable and figuring out moving on as they get proficient in their trade. From there, they move on. Once we learn the PV, we actually get into electrical vehicle infrastructure. And if you don't know, there is a federal certificate that requires any installer to have this certificate before they actually can install any EV infrastructure. So our apprentices in their 5th year, just before they top out, they do have a class, we do a session, and they do take the certification tests. Now, all our apprentices coming out of the program, in order to become a full-fledged journeyman, other than the hours and the schooling, also must sit for the Hawaii State Electrical Journeyman's License. So once they achieve their license, they get their certificate, and then now they're full-fledged journeyman able to work on your electrical vehicle infrastructure. And basically, that's how they are taught.
Thank you, Terry. So by the way, on your app, you can ask questions. I know I have a bunch here, so thank you for those that are asking. A lot of it has to do with workforce, of course, inside of there. But Leslie, on your talk in your path from your K to 12 that you're talking about, what are you doing? Are you working with the schools and in putting and implementing some type of program? Is that all trade programs, or just like you said, whether it be health aid and other crafts as well?
Yes, we work directly within the public schools, the DOE. A lot of our portfolio of funding is federal funding, state, and thank you, county funding. So it definitely is supporting our public schools. We work directly with teachers. We believe that you educate an educator, and you're going to get a huge return on that investment, because they will continue to, shape the lives of our young people for class after class. So we put, as I just gave you the example of the clean energy curriculum. We also do IT. We are the regional partner for code.org. We've trained over 1,700 DOE teachers on every island across the state to be certified to teach computer science. That's so important. That's very important in the renewable energy field as well. And then the other thing is that we try to connect classroom learning with real-world career pathways. That's really important, putting mentors in front of our students, giving them career awareness opportunities, besides the ultimate, I think, which is proven. We call it the stickiness factor. If we can get a student, one of our students that goes to the continent for higher education, if we can get them home for just one summer for a paid internship, the likelihood of them coming back home after they graduate is exponentially increased because they see that there is a career opportunity for them here back at home. Of course, we have to deal with the housing issue, which is the number one barrier, another conversation. But it's, because they're getting pounded by their advisors and whatever industries where they're at school that endow those schools to come work for them. So it's really important that we show them that they have pathways back home. And we're also very invested in the career technical education pathway, the CTE pathway. Once upon a time, it was stigmatized as college prep or vocational ed. Well, thank goodness that stereotype is broken because, quite frankly, in my humble opinion, the CTE pathways are where the real innovation is coming in the education. And I'm really excited to know that the Career Technical Education, CTE, and the DOE has just launched an energy pathway for our high school students. It's in its infancy. There are only 2 schools, and they're located on Oahu, that have adopted it. But we're going to do everything we can to continue to expand that because they are the feeders into pre-apprentice, apprenticeship, and then, of course, early learning, early college, helping our seniors take courses at our community colleges, which they're getting early credit for college, but also it's connecting. We have to connect the dots between education, their high school career, and their future and career pathways. And I just wanted to make one comment on the apprenticeship program and why pre-apprenticeship is so important, is the math phobia. Our students today don't think math is that important. They have AI, they can do any calculation on their phones. I see students roll their eyes, but their math is required to get into an apprenticeship pool. To get into an apprenticeship pool, we have lots of students that are interested, but when it comes to the math test, it's Algebra 1, right? You have to have at least the skills of Algebra 1 to be able to pass that test. And then eventually when you take the final licensing test, there's lots of applied mathematical equations, and that's across all trades. So anyone who's in your sphere of influence, whether it's your own children, neighbors, your nieces, nephews, we really are having to help our young people understand why they need to stay in math pathways.
Thank you. Yeah, math is important, and a lot of people didn't think it was before, but now it comes for us in any way. In our trade, it does. Terry, I have a question here that was asked. What advice would you give someone before IBEW apprenticeship interview? What do you mostly look for?
What we look for in an apprentice, basically, your regular soft skills, right? Who's able to make sure he's punctual, courteous, be there. My advice would be have them to be themselves. Yeah. Once you get nervous, you don't know how to talk. You get stuttering, probably like me right now because I'm not used to this many people. But no, we ask them to be themselves. All the committee members wants to know them. Yeah. The questions that we ask during the interviews is nothing to pertain with the industry. Is basically how you at communications, how well are you at working with others, how are you at working by yourself, meeting deadlines, and everybody which probably went through high school had a project to be done with a group, maybe by themselves, or the timeline to get their homework done. So that's what we look at, or that's what the committee look at, is how well you can manage yourself in a group session, individual, communicate, and that's basically what we're looking for as far as candidates into our program.
Thank you. Yeah, believe it or not, it doesn't relate to electrical, thinking about electrical itself. It's just knowing you as a person, what type of person you are that the interview goes through. They also ask, can you be a part-time apprentice?
Unfortunately, no. we are, because you are in the workforce, you are sent to a contractor, you are, the apprentice is relied on as part of a team, right? And if you only go work half the time, then you neglecting your team, neglecting the team. So our program is a full-time position. It's 8 hours plus, 5 days a week normally, unless you have to work Saturdays. Schooling is at night, depending. Oahu, Maui, and Kauai are in the evenings. Oahu, Big Island, we have them on Saturdays for 6 hours. But the program itself is a full-time task.
Is there an age gap to the applicant that can be an apprentice?
No, I guess the minimum requirement would be at least 18 years of age, and 18 and up. I do have a apprentice. He'll be topping off at 50. I think the oldest one we had was at 55, I think, that applied before us. So yeah, I mean, if you're willing and able to work, we don't discriminate against age. Females also, the trend of being male biased in construction is changing, I would say, gender-wise. I have at least 5 or 6 female apprentices or now journey persons that have licensed and then actually moved on to being leads, foremans. They run their own crew. In my program right now, currently we have about 18 females going through it. I think I just topped off at least 4 I know of for sure. So the trend of being male biased in construction is changing. I would encourage, my line to the high school girls is, you want to make more money than your boyfriend? Come and be an electrician.
Thank you. With what happened in Lahaina itself and the rebuilders community, Leslie mentioned that we're part of the Maui economic recovery, and both her and I sit on the workforce development side. Stephanie, I want to talk about Lahaina. I kind of foresee it as taking good out of something that happened so tragic. And what I see as good is that the community standing together and how strong they are, they can rebuild it to how they want it. They can go back to the old Hawaiian days. They can go back to culture, adding a whole lot more culture into it. In respects to energy, where do you see Lahaina? What kind of opportunities can you see for them with leads or building, going back and building green buildings now,
Definitely a really good question. With Lahaina and the fires, the Green Building Council definitely wants to take a standpoint of being resources rather than, trying to come in and be very prescriptive about how Lahaina can help to rebuild. We definitely want to help train folks as well as, share information back and forth. With respect to LEAD and how that fits in, definitely with energy resilience, that focus on having energy being harnessed from as local area as possible, making sure that the way that we're transferring that energy is as safe as possible, as well as we have some measures in place to, stop things if they need to be stopped. I think that that's going to be really important for Lahaina. But I really think that a lot of the local decision making is going to be what makes Lahaina again. And I definitely want to make sure that from a personal standpoint, just making sure that the people of Lahaina and the people of Maui and the people of Hawaii build a place where they feel healthy and safe.
Thank you. Leslie?
Absolutely. I mean, lifting up the voices of our Lahaina residents, our Kula residents that were so tragically impacted by the fires is, I think all of our responsibilities and at MEDB, whether we're doing the comprehensive economic development strategy updates or trying to get out funding to our businesses, the most important thing we can do is listen, truly hear, and then help incorporate those values, those words of wisdom, those goals, into our shared work together. And I'll go back to the question that you asked me. When you look at those authorities that are out there federally, there are a lot of projects for restoring rooftop solar as we, rebuild housing inventory on the west side, using products that are more fire preventative. So, we need to, again, and then we need to expedite the permitting process to let us move forward on this, I think is very important. We have to lift the barriers. We have to protect, our residents to make sure it's their voices, we're serving their needs. But we cannot be slow in this. We have to be steadfast. We have to lift the barriers and pull all the assets, resources we can.
Thank you. Terry, what are you doing for recruitment in light of Lahaina being the way it is now?
I guess I can say we just started. I would say maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we did come to Maui High, and I think it was American Job that worked for Department of Labor had did a career fair and basically concentrated on the seniors. As you guys know, graduation's coming around. A lot of them will be turning 18 as they graduate, and there are prospective applicants. And we're trying to talk to them to make sure that, give them an idea, Lahaina's going to be rebuilding. We're going to be busy with work out here. We want to make sure that Lahaina or Maui gets built by Maui people, and, giving them, hopefully they put a little pride for them in the community to, once they finish, like us as electricians, we do our job, we look at it, and it's still standing. For me, I'm an electrician for 33 years, and some of my jobs are still there, thank God. But but what I'm saying is, if you take pride in your work, you feel that much better in the community. And hopefully we can get these younger people interested in rebuilding Lahaina through our apprenticeship program and actually maintain Lahaina once they become journeymen.
It's not only younger people, though. It's right now we have many that lost their jobs, right? And they don't have anything yet because it hasn't been built back. Couldn't you recruit some of those, maybe change careers?
Absolutely. No, I'm sorry for just stereotyping the high school grads, but yeah, anybody that needs a change of career, through my recruitment, I would say, and I've been doing this for a while, we've had a lot of, I had engineers of all trades come into our program, become electricians, because they couldn't find jobs. And we are able to supply them with a livelihood. So anybody that's willing to come and work, we'll recruit them in and bring them into our program and train them.
Okay. I have another question here. One is that does the IBEW find a lot of engagement within the Hawaii renewables market, and how can this be enhanced? If you don't mind, I'm out there trying to mend some feelings and things. And what I mean by that, Rocky Mode, who's been up here, is with the Hawaii State Solar Association. He and I have been talking because our common goal is to be able to put PVs, wherever needed, without having roadblocks. And how do we go through legislation? How do we go to county permitting departments and work on stuff that we both can agree on, making sure that it's done right, done with licensed electricians. And so we have been actively, looking at legislation, like I said, whether it's good or bad legislation, trying to fix it and correct it so for both of us to agree on. and see, because in the industry itself, we've spoken to a lot of people about certifications, about panel installers and things, and like Leslie was talking in regards to the schooling, it's great to have a certification, but that certification is only good in the renewable energy. You still need a state of Hawaii license, which, as Terry alluded to, is 10,000 hours and 5 years of schooling in order to qualify to take the state test. So just because you have a certificate that says you can install panel doesn't mean you can go out to Auntie's house now and start installing panels. You still need to be an electrician, but it is a great pathway getting into the program, because it's a start of what the work is done by electricians themselves. Other questions that I see in here is that, what is the pay? What are we averaging? What's great, again, about apprenticeship program is in 5 years, you take someone that did come from high school, 18 years old, steps into this program, at age 23, he graduates. He's making, currently at current rate, he's making $110,000 in wages. No school debts, no school loans, student loans. And that's only, like I said, wages. With benefits, you come out to about $175,000 a year, including benefits, which is, medical for your whole family. You got a pension, you get an annuity, you get retirement. Things that, as you're younger, wouldn't even think about. But trust me, when you get to the 40 years of age and above, you start thinking, about retirement. What am I going to do? Well, there's funding, there's money there for you in doing this. And I think with the great work that everybody's been doing here on this stage, it helps create opportunities for people here in Hawaii to remain in Hawaii. So you can live, thrive here in the islands, by getting a good job, a great job that will carry your career. Now, mind you, it's not for everybody. It does take its toll on your body, like anything else. And other people are great with their minds. And I say, good, use your minds. Go to school, go to college. But if that doesn't work for you, like Terry alluded to, come back into the trade and try any of the trades. It'll give you a way to, like I said, to be able to live here in Hawaii and afford, as long as it doesn't keep going up, though, because it is getting high and expensive out there. And I just saw about food alone with bread, $13. That's crazy in buying bread. So, but you cut out carbs, you're okay. It's cheap. Save money that way. Everybody has to go on a diet, I guess. Let's see. Before I close out anything, you guys have any last words that you want to go before I end with some of these questions in there? Stephanie, I'll give you an opportunity to kind of talk about what can you folks bring, or what do you foresee in the future with resilience and energy resilience?
Yeah, so I think for me, having grown up on the Big Island, having the opportunity to come back, I was a mid to late career change. So I actually spent a lot of my career in language, working in international organizations. And now I really feel like those skills that I learned there can be transferred over in a lot of ways, in terms of working with sustainability, and also coming back and contributing what I've learned outside and bringing it back here as much as possible. And I really appreciate what Leslie and Terry talked about with bringing youth into the workforce. Particularly as a mom, my son is 17, and I'm like, oh my goodness, where can I send you for an apprenticeship? And now I have someone send him over to you. But anyways, yeah, I think that we all have things to contribute, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to hear about what you folks are doing here to bring those youth and also career changes, upskilling and reskilling out into the workforce to provide good, well-paying jobs. Thank you.
Leslie?
So again, I have a call to action out there for all of you in industry. Please, please open your doors for students, for interns, for mid-career change. You know, there's the most money that I've seen in a long time for mid-career people that want to change. They want to change sectors as we look to try to diversify our economy. You know, can we bring some folks that worked in the hospitality industry, knowing that that industry is quite stressed right now? Can we bring them into other sectors? I can't think of a better one than the clean energy sector. So, and look at your own employees. You have a very, very loyal, hardworking employee that needs some more skills to advance in your company. There is money for that now. That's what Good Jobs is about. So, and then of course, keep connecting the dots, you know, not only to our young people to look at career pathways, but it was music to my ears, Terry. You get my applause when you said, we are looking at recruiting more girls and women into the skilled trades. We have to break down those gender stereotypes because there 37% of the households in Hawaii are headed by women, single mothers. So, you know, getting them the economic security that the skilled trades offers, it's very important. And looking at all of our high school students to give them hope, and I think assuring that they have a clean energy future and making them part of those solutions is what our students need. We have to have hope as a community. Our community has gone through a huge trauma and shock of human loss and economic shock. So giving our young people hope and a part of the future and empowering them, I think, is key to our healing and our recovery.
And that's great. You know, there's equity in the pay scale, right? You know, women don't make less than men. They make just as much as the men do. In fact, we notice as women come into our trade that they actually become leaders in there, you know. Guys are afraid to yell back and talk back to the women themselves, but they're excellent. They have a quality in them that knows how to run jobs, knows how to run people, and do a very, very good job of it. And, you know, that's why my thing to Terry was, hey, we need to get more women in this because they're the best that we have so far inside of there. You know, they do a very good job of it. Going back to your, the $2,000, right? So you were talking about it's an opportunity for apprenticeship programs, people training. Now, because a person goes to an apprenticeship program, they can get a $2,000, right, from you.
Absolutely. So what happens is for your pre-apprenticeship programs, which all of you are running to make sure that you can actually recruit. So they're placed still with a contractor. They're still working. So the money goes to the employer. So that money can go to the employer to help them with taking on someone in your work that isn't quite yet, knowing that they have supervision by the skilled licensed electricians. Also can be used by equipment, special equipment, gloves, tools, which are not inexpensive for someone starting into the career pathway. Again, what I'm really looking for is that upskilling. Again, you find someone in your company, you send them to some of the training out there, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's communications and skilled trades in your company to take the classes. Those classes are free in the University of Hawaii system. If they don't offer what you need, you're going to get that $2,000 to pay for that training, or to offset, if you're letting them go to class, to offset the cost of, maybe lost productivity to let them go. So we only have 1.5 years. We're halfway through that Good Jobs grant. We need to spend more money. My personal foundations, we do not get federal money back. If we work hard and get it awarded, we're going to use it well in our community. So we really need to step up the acceleration on using those programs. So please spread the word. I put the URL up And you can even call MEDB. We're one of the partners trying to put together placements. So did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
All right.
Well, that and so
Thank you, everyone.
cannot double dip though, right? So the apprenticeship cannot get that, and then the business get another 2,000.
Yeah, no, we cannot double
okay.
dip, but we
That's
can
checking.
work it out. If the pre-apprentice is still an employer of record with you while they're doing some of their book learning before you place them with a contractor, you get the funding. If they're working already for their work-based learning part of it, the contractor gets the money.
Nice. Terry, you took notes on that, right?
Taking notes.
Taking advantage of that.
I'm talking to Leslie after this.
I think Bill Kamai was out there wanting notes on that too.
Terry, before I give you your last thoughts, a question appeared. Does apprenticeship go through drug testing?
Yes. Before we refer them out to a contractor, they do have to pass our pre-employment drug tests. Unfortunately, it's part of our recruiting process. If they fail, they cannot be in our program.
Is medical marijuana card an excuse?
Unfortunately, no, it's not.
Okay. Thank you. Any last words?
Coming from a guy that did do a midlife changing career, I'm happy I did it as far as the industry goes. And all I ask for people from Maui or anybody actually for our industry, if you know anybody that career change or even the young ones that don't have a pathway, don't know what they want to do, come check us out, basically. Like Damien asked me to do a pitch, and I'm sorry. If you guys want an electrifying career, you guys can come be an electrician.
That's the best he could come up with. But I just want to, wrap it up and thank everyone here at the panel for contributing to this conversation over here that we do see light at the end of the tunnel, I think, first of all, with energy resilience and just listening to the people at this conference and having conversations outside of this of seeing how everybody wants to do something to change us, right, and to preserve our resources. And how people now are wanting to lift the community of Lahaina based on what happened tragically on August 8th. And what I can tell, and I know a lot of the questions has to do with workforce itself, that we'll find a way for sure to get the workforce. We want to keep local people here. We want them to thrive here in Hawaii. We want our families to stay. And the only way we're going to do it, I think Senator DeCoite had said, she tired talking about affordable housing. When are we going to get enough pay in our paychecks to afford a housing, period, a market price at homes? And the only way, unfortunately right now is, schooling, going to the college was always a great thing because we still need engineers, we still need doctors and lawyers and everybody. But this different pathway of going into the trades, I too have one that's been fortunate enough to, I thought of going into electrical engineering and being an engineer and decided that's too much schooling for me. So I went to our great community college and graduated from there and got into the union. And today I'm thankful for what I have and the retirement I'm going to get. It's life-changing, and it's something that I think the younger generation can take from it and be able to, like I said, to live and survive here in Hawaii. It's unfortunately, again, one of the strongest is our construction industry. They talk about tourism being number one, construction number two, with the work that's come out with the IRA, with modifying, whether it be retrofitting older homes, electric vehicles. Our industry for electrical is going to be booming for sure. And that's why Terry has the great weight on his shoulders of finding these apprentices to start it off and then finding some, we are able also to find electricians that's out there that has their license that maybe want to change and come into the union side and go work because of, we set the pace and the tone of what the Davis-Bacon wages are here in the state of Hawaii. And I think with that, it will help better our economy, maybe can afford the $19 bread or $14 bread that's out there. But construction drives the economy itself. So that's why this is great. With all these renewable energies, not only are we doing good for the community and good for the earth and everything else, but it's also helping us survive and live a great life. And so again, I just want to thank everybody on the panel. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the audience listening and the questions that you guys have given us. So thank you very much.